This is not about who has the biggest economy in the world. And it is not about GDP rankings. It is about whether the global system of power is beginning to shift without a war. For years, projections about when China might overtake United States have been read like a scoreboard. 2035. 2068. Or never. The numbers look like a race. But what is really being tested is not position. What is being tested is the strength of the system underneath. Because economic dominance is not defined by size alone. It is defined by how growth is produced, how pressure is absorbed, and how long a system can hold together without cracking. Today, the United States and China are not just competing in numbers. They are being tested as two different models of power. One model is built on consumption, financial markets, and currency dominance. The other is built on massive investment, industrial control, and state-directed expansion. On the surface, this looks like a race. Underneath, it is a stress test. And the outcome will not decide who is richer. It will decide where the center of the global system moves. In nominal terms, the United States is still larger. The gap looks safe, as if there is no real threat. But power does not shift through one dramatic leap. It shifts through small pressures that accumulate year after year. If one system grows faster than the other, the difference looks minor at first. But it does not disappear. It compounds. This is the real mechanism. Not crisis. Not shock. But slow displacement of an old balance. That is why some projections see China overtaking the United States sooner than expected. Not because of a single breakthrough, but because of consistent pressure. Yet that pressure comes at a cost. China's rapid growth over the last 3 decades happened because the world around it changed. Mass industrialization, huge urbanization, integration into global trade, and cheap labor on an enormous scale. This pattern is not unique. Japan went through it. South Korea went through it. Taiwan went through it. And after that phase ended, their growth slowed. China is now reaching the same point. After the 2008 global financial crisis, exports were no longer enough to sustain growth. To keep momentum, the system turned to investment. Infrastructure, housing, factories, transport networks, industrial capacity. This created speed. But it also created structural tension. Because investment can create capacity, but it does not always create demand. If capacity grows faster than consumption, the system becomes larger, but more fragile. The risk does not appear as an immediate collapse. It appears as falling efficiency, rising debt, and the need to keep pushing growth just to keep the structure moving. This is where the dilemma emerges. If China keeps growth high, internal pressure increases. If it slows growth to rebalance the system, its convergence with the United States also slows. That is why two very different futures appear. One points to rapid shift. The other points to long delay, or even failure to truly overtake. The difference is not intention. The difference is structural limits. Demographics are changing. Population growth is slowing or reversing. The workforce is shrinking. Urbanization is losing momentum. The old engine cannot run at the same speed forever. And beneath all of this lies a deeper factor: institutions. Long-term growth is not determined by investment or exports alone. It is determined by whether a system can produce sustained innovation, adapt under pressure, and transform itself without breaking. If it fails, high growth becomes a trap. The system becomes too expensive to compete with poorer countries, but not flexible enough to lead in advanced technology. But if the transition succeeds, China does not just grow larger. It expands its influence over supply chains, technology standards, and international payment systems. At that point, this is no longer about numbers. It is about gravity. Who sets the rules? Who designs the architecture of trade? Who becomes the hub of global production networks? So this is not about who wins a symbolic race. It is about whether the center of the global system truly shifts, or only trembles without ever moving. If China overtakes the United States, it means a model built on industrial control and centralized investment can sustain long-term power. If it does not, then structural and institutional limits become a natural break. And this shift will not arrive as a single historic moment. It will arrive through small accumulations. 4% versus 2.5%. Slow demographic change. Pressures invisible in 1 year, but decisive over a decade. The real question is not when China becomes number one. The real question is this: is its model strong enough to support the next center of global power? And if it is the world ready to live in a system that is no longer centered on the West?